Is excellence built on small efforts? Why? Should we always strive for excellence? If no, why not?
Well, because I think, look, good question. Look, I think we have this one magnificent life, right? And I think our life should be striving towards excellence, towards perfection, whatever that means. And I think it's built on these small things, these tiny things, right? Do I spend some time to reflect on something before I do it? So I think we must really think constantly that I want to act in an excellent way. And you know, look, inevitably we don't. But certainly when it comes to things that I'm paying for, I should demand the best. Absolutely. There's a very expensive home, look. This is not some run-of-the-mill, you know, run-of-the-mill average home. This is an expensive home, $30, $40, $50 million. Now, would you accept wallpaper that's hung in, you know, incorrectly with that kind of money? I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, that's why. It's shocking, to be honest, right? So I just want people to, you know, to think that in life, it's all built, life is built on small instances, right? Absolutely. It's not built on one gigantic occurrence. These small things, and we must constantly remind ourselves that I want to strive for excellence. And of course, look, the question is, why not? Yeah.
Why should we start the day by making our bed?
Yeah, well, most assuredly, look, you have to focus your efforts. But I think when one means excellence here, it's a concept, it's an idea. And obviously, we're going to focus on our career to what we're going to be excellent at. Look, give you a small example, right? I think, let's take shoes. I observe people's shoes. It takes seconds to clean your shoes, seconds, right? And I find inevitably many people don't clean their shoes. And you ask yourself, it all begins there. I was reading an article recently by an American general, and I'm not particularly interested in military things, but this general said, the first thing you do in the morning is what? Make your bed, right? It all starts, you know, with making your bed. And I asked myself, how many times have I woken up in my life, didn't make my bed, you know? But I realized he's right. If you start your day in an excellent format, with an excellent format, the rest of the day, you know, it's a concept, look, it's a concept.
Why should we develop good habits?
So look, I'll give you an example. Let's take you for an example. I find that you have an excellent mind because you write everything down and you document it. You don't have to. I mean, you don't have to at all. I don't do that mostly. I do, but not to that extent, right? That's what I mean, is that you document what's going on in this magnificent existence, right? And if you don't, then you don't. It's up to you. It's your life.
Do you define who you want to be? Do you define your personal brand?
Well, I one day ran into one of my doctors, you know, just casually in a shopping center, and he was very, very casually dressed. And it made me extremely uncomfortable, to be honest, right? Because I think that once a doctor, always a doctor, right? Once a teacher, always a teacher, etc., etc. So it wouldn't be my way of approaching life, let's put it that way. I think you define who you want to be. I don't think you can compartmentalize your life to be truthful. I think that we are who we are, period. I mean, that's our personal brand, as Seth Godin talks about, right? You know, you are. What Dr. Csikszentmihalyi talks about flow. I mean, we're constantly in our flow, I guess. Right?
Should we have a public and a private life? What is business casual clothing?
Privately, look, you can do whatever you like. You know, I run around naked in my house. That's right, you know, right? Sure, absolutely. But I do think, I'm kind of old-fashioned in that sense. You know, I do think we do have a public and a private life. And I think our public life is a life that, and if we represent something, if we are a doctor, a dentist, a teacher, a scholar, a professor, I think you represent, you know, that entity in a public sense. Privately, it's your business in your own home, right? I mean, I often remember I used to garden. We used to have this large home with a garden, and we used to almost roll in the dirt I would be tremendously embarrassed if somebody were to knock at the garden gate when you're covered in mud and dirt and what have you, But I think publicly I do think it's a different world, Luke, right? I think it's important. I think the internet fools us. I think it assumes that we can do these things casually. I don't believe we can, Luke, personally. Personal brand, we talk about this image constantly. I mean, would you like to run into the leader of your company, for instance, and he's dressed like a buffoon? I mean, would you feel comfortable? I wouldn't. I mean, he doesn't have to be over the top, but there is a way to have business casual, for sure.
Do I not want my piece of life to be excellent and to act excellently?
First of all, Luke, I'm just the messenger. I mean, these are not original concepts at all, right? I mean, these are concepts that have been with us for forever, in a way, right? And I think when we turn 20 years old, basically around 20, we wake up and we realize that we are alive. So if you have this little piece of life, you've been given a raw diamond, wouldn't you go to a jeweler and say, look, I want you to polish this into a brilliant stone, right? Wouldn't you? And that's your life. So why wouldn't you polish you into something magnificent? And I do believe that I'm not here by accident. In the trillions of things in this universe, somehow I became me. And I'm different than all my siblings, as we all are. I'm unique in that sense. So why wouldn't I hone that uniqueness into something magnificent so I can give it back to the world? My responsibility, look, I believe, is to contribute to the common good, to our fellow man. And how can we do that if we aren't excellent, or we don't strive for excellence ourselves? How can we be educators if we don't strive for excellence? If we strive for mediocrity, what are we representing? Honestly, mediocrity? Is that what we want in this life? Good enough? Really? And I don't think so, Luke. And the people that I respect and I care for, they're not mediocre people. I'm speaking to my friend last night. He's 90. 90. He's got a new car. And he's not driving at 90. He's kind of shocked me a little. 90, and he still teaches an art history class once a week. And I asked him how he was. And he says his legs bother him a bit, but other than that, his mind is perceptive and alive all his life. I've known him about 40-something years. All his life, he's strived to become better, always. Shouldn't we all be this way? Realistically, I mean, let's put it all aside and, in the life. And I know life is busy and we flow and we have problems and frustrations. But at the end of the day, if I have one piece of life, wouldn't I want that piece of life to be excellent? Seriously. And if the answer is no, why? Why do I accept good enough, mediocre? I just don't get it. And we shouldn't, Luke. We shouldn't. The internet, they say, has leveled us. There's a leveling, right? Pushing us down. Then we should be fighting back even more, because the internet, in theory, makes us God, right? I pull up my iPhone and I can look at anything. I can discover anything, good and bad, which in theory, once again, it should allow me to be who I deserve to be, right? But most won't do this. It's an error, I believe. In our students, it's an error. And what do we search for? Money. Gosh, come on. I mean, it is naive almost, because you can never get enough money. There's always somebody above you. So obviously money is not the answer to either success, neither to happiness. There's some other intrinsic gift that's there, right? So those are my thoughts. Absolutely. No, but I mean, I'm 62 years old. I have a very good experience at this sort of phenomenon, right? But then you have to say to yourself, come on, let's get going. I mean, if you were in the middle of the desert, let's say, right, and you see the mountains in the distance, and the mountains are covered in snow, and you can see a lake, and oh my gosh, but you're still in the desert, which does exist geographically in places. Are you going to stop in the desert when you can see the wonderful lake and the water and et cetera, in the distance? The answer would I would think would be no. That's where you are after 6 months or a year, right? My personal experience, Luke, I told you, being an advertising salesman, I was a flunky, as they call it in English, for years. Then I got an opportunity to actually sell. I was good at it. Finally, made some money. great, right? But if I quit, which I wanted to do, but if I quit, I wouldn't be talking to you today, look. Really that simple, right?